Hi guys, and welcome to another video of Down to Business. Aimed at business owners out there to get some lessons. Hopefully, you've been learning a few of late and can apply them within your business. And today, I'm sure we're going to learn a lot with a great story and a great guest in Leah Jay. Welcome, Leah.
Thank you, Andrew.
Leah's got a very extensive career in basically property management, real estate generally, and I'll let her talk a lot more about that. But grown a business from very humble beginnings to quite impressive business these days here in Newcastle and beyond. And I'm sure we've got a lot to learn, as well as some of the other things that business, I guess, has created opportunities for. So without further ado, I'll let Leah tell us a bit about herself to start the session, and we'll go from there.
Thank you, Andrew. Okay, well, I really do come from very humble beginnings. I arrived in Newcastle from Central West about 35 years ago now, and my background is West? From Orange, New South Wales.
Okay, so a bit different out there near the ocean.
Yep, had never been around the ocean. This was all new to me. So I came here, and my husband at the time was. His wife brought us to the area, and I worked for a local real estate company. They're still going today, Walcombs.
Yeah, right.
And worked for them for 7 years in property management, and I really enjoyed it. I loved it. They were a great company, great family business to work for, and I had a lot of flexibility even back then because as I was there, I had 2 children. So you think about that, 33 years ago. Working and managing 2 kids, and back then it was tough days, but I could see that there was an opportunity. I loved property management, but I could see that there was an opportunity to go out and make that a standalone business, because it was always the poor cousin of sales. And I took a chance and backed myself, and after being with Walcombs for 7 years, went off and started Leah Jay. So it was known as, it was actually back then known as McFarlane Property Management, because I operated the business out of a tiny little office in Beaumont Street, Hamilton, and it was just me, a telephone and a car. There was no mobile phones in those days. It was, what are those things called? Two-way radios.
Oh, really?
Things like that.
Right.
Yeah. So there's been a lot of change since then. So that's how I started. Yeah.
Just had a punt.
Just had a punt.
That's
but
great.
If I can do it for somebody else, I'll do it for myself. Yeah.
And I think not to cast aspersions or anything on the sales side, but sales, I guess, from a real estate perspective, generally one-off transactions, not a lot of relationship, I guess, but that's a big part of what you do and your business. Is that right?
Yeah, I think what ignited the passion, and it is a passion for me, property management, was the relationship building. It was the people. So when I started in real estate, it was about the property. I loved houses, and I loved being around all that sort of thing. But it very quickly developed into the houses are just a thing. It's the people and the relationships that you build. And I got a lot of delight and a lot of joy out of putting people in property, and knowing that it was not always, but sometimes long term, and they're going to be permanent renters, and looking after those assets for them. And they were pretty much back then, and still are, mum and dad investors who own the properties. So it was about the relationships and the people. Yeah.
No, that's great. Yeah. And I think a lot of the common themes that we've been having with a lot of the videos we're doing is that people and relationships, and I think that's very evident in what you do. And I guess even myself, from someone that's invested as a landlord before, there's a lot of, we talk about the sales side of real estate, but there's a lot of ordinary handlers of investment properties as well, from what you'd expect in the game. So how do you differentiate yourself, and how have you continued?
I think what it ignited in me is, yes, it's the people side and the passion, and you get to really know people and listen to people and what their needs and their requirements are. But then the other side of that is, which is my personality, is I'm very serious, and it's the intense, serious responsibility, and knowing that back then it was just me, was fully responsible for that person. Could have been their only asset. I took that with great very, very seriously and personally, and you look after that as it would be your own, and communication. So I think it was the personal touch that set me aside back then. And as you grow, you try and make sure that continues, and that's the philosophy of the business as you grow and change. That's not easy.
No, I guarantee it's not, because otherwise everyone would be doing it. And I think you've hit on already two of the areas I usually focus on, and we'll talk to a lot of businesses about keeping it simple and talking, too many focus on the numbers and the finance result, and realistically, finance is an outcome, is a result. Where if you focus on the people, the process and systems and your customers, which you obviously a big part of what you do, the finance takes care of itself.
And it was never about the money.
Yeah.
So for me, when I started that little business, it was about having a job for myself and doing it for myself, and maybe creating an asset so that at some point down the time there was something for me. But it was about giving me the flexibility. I was a bit of a workaholic. As when you're in business for yourself, that tends to be the way it goes. And there was no balance, no work-life balance. So you're giving it everything. Yeah, I can remember, and I've still got at home my little cash flow from when I started. But it was, as I said, the business growth and the profitability of the business in those early days just happened because of the passion and the way I went about doing things, and the love I had for it. And systems. So you're forever changing and evolving, so that it is done more efficiently. But if you start to concentrate on the dollars, it's not going to happen.
So you just touched on systems and how that's evolved, but I guess, yes, you started as one person, but how long into the journey did you then decide you need to put some help on?
About 6. It was only about 6 or 8 months into the journey that we started, and I had another one person, because there's not a lot of fat in profit-wise in property management when you're small. It's scale, the volume. That's where that comes into play. So back then it was, very meagre, but I could afford to put somebody on, and I think that over the first couple of years, maybe we're up to about 4 or 5 years, and we only had about 3 people working for us. But the business did grow organically at that stage. So I think because we were property management only, and we were the very first people, I was the first who started that business in Newcastle, and I think statewide actually, that I'm aware of, that people are attracted to it. So it grew quite nicely, But it took a couple of years to get those people on board, and I don't have any background in management, so I hadn't done any I had no education. It was all learning on the job for me, and so a lot of it is actually the people skills and the soft skills that I have inherent in me, that I have used to manage the people along the way.
But I think that learning on the job's great if you do actually learn. I think the problem with a lot of business owners, and one I'll say is about reflection. I tell people all the time, I've made a career on mistakes.
Yes.
Which is fine as long as you learn from it. I think that's where you're going with that.
I think it's like I've always done a lot of self-improvement and learning that way, but I've also surrounded myself with people that can help me in the areas that I fall short on. You can't be good at everything, so I concentrate on the areas that I'm really good at and make sure that I've got people around me that can really hone in, and I respect what they can do, and I think that's part of our success in the early days and continuing.
So on that point, and as I said, as you've started to grow and bring people on, how have you managed to ensure, and given you so much passion in what you do, how have you managed to ensure that when you let go a little bit or delegated, or that the same delivery was there?
Yeah, that's been the tough part, and we haven't always got that right, and more so in the early days, because I held on so tight, and when you hold on tight and you're not allowing people to develop and evolve, I think that's when some of the not mistakes, but we could have done it better. It's learning. It's making sure you've got the right people, and when you in the roles, and that's an art to that as well. managing people, employing people. But once you've got them there, you do have to step back and you do have to let them evolve and you do have to listen. So I had to learn all that. It wasn't all just about how I did it. I have to then, listen to what other people can bring to the table and how they see it. And it's constant change. The industry has undergone massive change. More so, I would suggest, in the last 8 to 10 years. But letting go and allowing others to, experience it and spread the way, I guess. Yeah.
As long as you've got those
you've got to have your boundaries. You've got to have. So if you start with, you've got to have your culture. You've got to have the core philosophy of the business, and make sure that is there. Once that starts to weigh, you've always got to bring that back. So keep that there, and then you've got to let people. And as the business grows, it's not going to be the same as what it was like when I was there. You have to trust, and you have to delegate, and you just step back and let it be. And sometimes that's for the better as well. It doesn't have to always be about the way I would run it if it were just me.
Well, as you said, everyone brings different perspective and different skills. So that's great.
Yeah.
I'll come back to your team. The fact that I had down a point to talk about niching. So too many businesses try to be everything to everyone.
Yeah.
Now, there's no better example of niching than what you've created. Really saying that's what my niche. So I imagine out of that, those relationships and the clientele you've built up over the years, we've done a lot for them.
Yeah.
There would have been no shortage of opportunities to enter into sales.
Yes.
Tell me about niching and what you found set you apart there.
Yeah, niching has been the secret, I think, one of the major secrets to our success. When I started, Andrew, I can remember and I can rattle off, half a dozen names of males at the time who was like, okay, that will never, you'll be gone in 6 months. That will never work. And a female going out and doing that, like, it was like, you have to put those things out of your head. And it was negative. So you've just got to step aside from that and go, okay, concentrate on what you're doing. And I guess keep a little eye over your shoulder and be aware of what's going on, but stay true to your values and know that, okay, that's the goal, that's the plan, little bit step by step. Having said that, there was no plan to have the size and the scale of the business that we have now. And there have been many opportunities over the time to venture into sales. I guess then that wouldn't be being true to myself. It was, there were a little pull here, a little pull there. I guess the other good thing about our business is we are 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Now it just ticks over. But I don't have to be out there on a Saturday afternoon at an open house and things like. And my kids were little, and I didn't want to have to do that. I'd still work, but at times and that would suit me.
So effectively, you've created a business that supports your life as well.
Yes, that's what's happened.
That's great.
Yeah.
So on
I didn't know I was doing that at the time. Hindsight's a good thing.
Yeah. I guess, and with that, the other point I'd say, well, I'm assuming that you'd even have some sales agents that would refer you work because you're not seen as a competitor necessarily.
That's correct.
That's great.
Yeah. Over the time we have, because our clients value our, so we're totally independent. So then over time, people come, our owner clients, if they wanted to sell or needed to sell, would be after our totally independent advice. So you'd have a couple of people that you can that you trust for those clients, so you can refer them on to. I've got I don't dislike salespeople. I've got some really great friends who, salespeople.
I think it's a key point to get across, because too many people think, especially when they're smaller, they can't let go of an opportunity. Where that opportunity you let go of might mean to other opportunities. So, I know in our game, in professional accounting, business advisory, everyone says they're a competitor, and I can show you time again, we're saying, no, we've got specialists. So you work with other, effectively colleagues in the industry, and you both get a good outcome. I think if business owners could see that more, then the opportunity sort of opens up.
And when it's worked well and best for us over the time, there have been a couple of salespeople over the years that have been sales only. So that's been a great reciprocal arrangement. And they're salespeople. They're not property managers. They sell, and that's the best thing they do. We couldn't sell in a pink fit. We concentrate and put all our energy and many hours of training and expertise so that we do that niche. We're the best at it. No doubt. I firmly believe that my team are the best at that, and it's because of that total focus and not being, you think about it, if you've got to put energy over there and you've got to put energy there, that's draining you from what you can do best there. Yeah, there have been times too where I've looked and I've gone, because our income is, ticks along, and you hear, what goes on and how much money people make in sales, and sometimes, and also when our owners sell properties, we don't get a clip in the commission of that back then. So you look at that and you go, I could have made a lot more money then. It's not about the money. You just got to keep coming back. It's what you do. It's the service you provide. It even becomes more. I'm going a little bit all over the place, but it even becomes more than the property management business itself. As it's grown and we've been able to maintain that niche business, it's about what it contributes to the community, the jobs it provides to the, we have 60 employees now, 65. The jobs it provides for those families and for the tradespeople and the contractors and all those that work for us. It becomes about all that.
You're affecting a lot more life than just what's even in front of you.
Yeah.
So I mean, we could talk about this all day. Those questions I'm going to ask now, but of a husband of my wife's not so much anymore, but always been very career orientated, and I've got a young daughter that's also hopefully going to shoot the lights out with her goals. Yeah. You mentioned how hard it was to go out into yourself. You had a lot of doubting Thomases, I guess, from the males that maybe in the industry. Yeah. What's some lessons learned from there, and what's some of the things you would give advice to other females? Because as much as we're making headway, I still think there's a lot to go in that space.
There is still a lot to go, and it is difficult. And I see it with the mums and dads. We have got males who work with us now, who work for us, and trying to juggle and with family and kids. Anything is possible. I am a perfect example of that. I started with nothing. I had a dream, and that dream grew. But you can't have everything all at once. So I think if you have to take risks, you have to take the opportunities. You will fail, you'll make mistakes, you won't always get it right. But I think there's, go for it. Anything is possible to achieve if you've pretty much got to be single-minded. And also, it's not just all about you. Reach out to people that are around you and that can help you and guide you, and take all the support you can to get you through. But believe in yourself. Yeah. It's all in the mind. That's how I look at it. It's education. Education these days is extremely important. Listening and self-belief.
I think the good thing is some of the things you said, that the education, there's so many different versions of education these days, and accessible. And the other one for me is as I said, long way to go, but I'm seeing more and more within the business we work with, even our own, is the adaptation that we're doing to whether it be flexibility, different hours, And I think if anything, COVID has brought that to light, where people have had to be flexible. Now we're going, well, what can we learn from that and apply? And particularly, I've got two of my best managers just gone on maternity leave last week, and we're putting things in place for their return to work that we've never done before. So hopefully that message gets to more and more and more people. And we get, take that whole argument out of our dialogue, if you like.
So I'll give you an example. When I worked for the other company before I started by myself, I had been there for 18 months and I was pregnant. So I went to them and told them I was pregnant, blah, 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 I'm going to have a baby. Okay, no worries. Well, you can finish up in a month's time and we'll replace you. That's how it was back then. And there was no negotiating, there was nothing. So off I went, and then had to go and find a job and do some temp work to see me through until I had my son. And after he was 4 months old, and they rang and asked me to come back, and I could then negotiate my terms a little bit. I think it's a magnificent thing that doesn't happen these days. And there are laws, and you want to look after people. You've got to look after your people. So like you're just saying with your two managers, our 65 people, 62 or 3 of them are women, and we are constantly juggling parental leave, and have one and then they come back and they have another one, but the flexibility is magnificent. And it's teamwork as well.
And if you've got good people, you don't want to
the money you invest in them and what they give to you, it's a two-way street. I think again for the business owners that maybe not again gone down this path yet, and maybe you're not at that level of employment, but reality is flexibility will be one of the biggest draw cards, if it's not already, to getting the great people, as opposed, for years it's been money. I think, studies of recent times have shown that money is actually about 5th or 6th on the hierarchy schedule now for draw cards. So flexibility is a big one. Yeah, flexibility. I think a sense of belonging. I think, and particularly what we've experienced in the last few months, I think people like to or need to feel a sense of belonging, that they're valued, well, obviously value, but a place to go that's comfortable. That's great. I want to come back to your team. You just mentioned before how, and I know some of your team members, and I've had some great conversations with them, over the past year. And they are very skilled. I guess that doesn't just happen overnight, but also you mentioned before about surrounding yourself with the right people. Talk a bit about how you went down that path, and then how you interact with them now, etc. Okay, so as the business has evolved and as the business has changed over the last 26 years, so as the people you need changes as well. So the people that we had back then, when it was just me and us, that was a little group of people. But as things move on, those personalities probably are not going to fit in the paradigm or in the business. It's a different business now. So we have a real mix of people that have been with us shorter time, medium time, and then we've got a core of about 5 or 6 people have been with us about 15 to 18 years. Our managing CEO, Cassie Lantry, has been with us for 15 years. She started on the ground, so she has, I like to say, grown up with us. She knows the core values of the business, and that's the thing that matters most to me, is the values of that business. And I think Cassie worked alongside myself, and my former husband Jeff was part of, or is still a small part of the business, and so she worked alongside of us, and she's seen what we've experienced, and she's been in the trenches, so to speak, with us. So I have no issue with Cass. She just runs it probably better than I used to. And she's surrounded with a great little management team as well. And they're a mix of different personalities, different skills, different age groups as well, because those women all have something different to bring to the table. And it's a really nice mix, and they work off each other. There's a great respect. Ongoing education, not for all of them, but for some of them, because different stages in their lives. So that's how that's the success of our business today. I feel great ease and comfort in the way that the business is being managed at the moment. And it obviously allows you, which we're going to get to some of your other endeavours outside of this, but that team allows you also not just to be stuck in that role 24/7. So my role has changed significantly in the last probably 4 years. 4 or 5 years ago, we made a deliberate strategic decision that I would back out a little bit. It was tough at first. I had my hands on the rails and I wanted to do this and this, and it had to be done my way a little bit. But I think what you learn is, I've been doing that for 20 years and probably tired of, so the people tiredness, and it was time for, and there had been no downtime, and a lot of things had happened over those years, at life things. So it was okay, just breathe, not step away, but just step aside and breathe some new life into the business, and that's what Cass and Leslie and the team do.
Yeah, and I think one of the greatest things I've got told, and it probably hits you in the face a bit, when you're in that space and you let someone else do it, they're not going to do it the same way as you, but that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yes.
You know, and as long as you said before, boundaries, and we know where we're going with it, you know, let them go.
Let them go, and they flourish more. So whenever I was there hovering around, things were great, was happening, but I can confidently say, and I think it's a great thing, once I stepped away and let that happen, it flourished. Another level, a different level. But as I said, it's a different business. So the people that were there back then, some of them couldn't cope with that change because they'd been around me. I was their leader, and and although Cassie had been there and the team had been there, to bring somebody else in rocked the boat a little bit. So probably about 4 years ago, we went through a really change where I moved aside, the management team more so came in, and with that, some of our people stayed, some of them moved on, but the business is going very, very well, extremely strong, right. And yeah.
So it can happen.
It can happen, yeah.
Yeah, as you said,
and that wasn't part of the plan. Yeah.
I guess you've been going for, as I said, quite a while, and business strong. Mm-hmm. How do you stay ahead of the competition? Because I'd imagine, you had the power of innovation or niching, as we said, way back in the day.
Yeah.
But now people have seen it be successful. I'm sure there's been others come along. So how do you stay ahead?
Yeah. Okay. So that's exactly what's happened. The others have come along, and that keeps driving us. So you have to keep looking. So you look outside, you look at other industries, you look what is happening in other areas, and keep reinvesting in the business. Technology has been a huge thing for us. Looking after our owner clients. Our owners are the ones who pay our fees. Our tenants, without our tenants, we wouldn't have a business. So how do we stay ahead? We look and see what both of those people need, those sectors need, and continuously strive to improve and make that a better experience and an easier experience. And the pace of business is getting faster and faster, and everything's instant. So we need to be able to deliver information a lot quicker, have instant access to things and turn things around really quickly. So with our size and our scale, we are more able to do that than smaller businesses. So it's constantly looking at those sort of ways to improve without losing the essence of what Leah Jay is and the values of the company. Yeah.
Great answer. I know you've got a big drive with, and you've touched on it a lot already around the people and that sort of stuff, but purpose in business. How has purpose affected what you do? And I guess that also forms part of the drive that keeps going. But how do you get that purpose instilled within the rest of your team?
I think through leading, and I don't like the word leading, but showing them a way of life. I think leading or being by example. So giving them purpose. If they can see what you can achieve and what your team can achieve, and the purpose of the business and what we're trying to do for people and for the community, I think that gives the team a sense of purpose. I would never ask anybody in that company to do anything that I wouldn't do. I think it's being humble, it's listening to them, and just seeing that I'm no bigger than the greater picture, and we're all on the same playing field, and it's a common purpose. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does.
I had a roundabout way.
I had a chat to a gentleman the other day, and he said he always framed it around like you said, you wouldn't ask anyone to do what you wouldn't do. You always said he used to like to get in and do the jobs no one wanted to do.
Yes.
So
Yeah. I love to listen. I love to get amongst. So part of what I do now, because with COVID, I've been around and then I get itching. Okay, well, so that's what's happened too in the last few months. Like, oh, what am I going to do? Like, I can't be off doing my other things. So I said to Cass, I need a job. What can I do? But I can't go back in, and I have no desire to go back in and take on one of those exec roles. But my purpose is to be there, to be around, to understand and to listen to the team that we have. And I get great joy and delight in seeing them grow and different people develop in different ways. And it may not be in the business either. It is about that, but it's not. I get great joy in seeing them develop outside and what they do in their lives personally. And I think as a business, that's an important part of the business for me is for people to get something else out of it other than a paycheck each fortnight and to be able to come to work. I'd like to think they've got something else out of it. Do the jobs that nobody else wants to do.
That's great.
Definitely.
All right, so when it comes to an extensive career and still going, what's been maybe, and this might be two parts, but what's been your biggest lesson and or maybe your hardest lesson in business?
Oh, biggest lesson. I don't know, I've tried to think about that in the last few days. It was way harder than I ever thought it would be, I guess. So when I started, I thought, this will be easy. I'll go out and I'll set this up and that up. And I looked and could see how the company that I'd worked for and other companies, I thought that looked easy. I had no clue. I had no clue what was involved and the depth that was involved and the intensity. So I think that's been my main lesson, and it's ongoing. It doesn't end. It just keeps evolving. There's been lots of tears, lots of things over the years. But I think to be able to step aside and it's, as I say, it's ongoing. Who knows? Like with COVID, what happened back in March, that was a bit of an eye-opener as well. Yeah. But now I think to be able to look back and go, it's nothing that really jolts me too much, but that also might be the stage in my life I'm at. I don't know. Yeah, it takes a lot to shake me now, but that could also be, as you said, there are two parts. Could also be to do with the death of my son that I experienced 11, 12 years ago now. And I think that sort of thing shapes you and makes you see life very, very differently as well.
Yeah, that would have been extremely challenging.
Yeah.
And I mean, not to dwell on that sort of situation, bring you back to it too much, but I mean, you've created a purpose out of that as well, and done some wonderful things off the back of that. And I mean, the viewers wouldn't be aware, I guess, but it's M&D that you support, and I've sat back and without knowing you from afar and just going, geez, you must be just this mountaineer all your life and now doing these big treks. And then I understood that this sort of sparked you. So tell us a bit about that and what you've done.
So I didn't do anything, Andrew, except build that business for about 15 years. And I didn't walk, I did nothing. It was full on, total commitment. And then Elliot was 18 and he was diagnosed with motor neurone disease and died under 12 months later. So after that, and he said to me when he was dying, Mum, don't let this define you. Don't sit back just because you're going to have a child that dies, that you get on and live life. And so that was the thing that ignited something inside of me, and it still was very slow. It took time to evolve, but it means we've all got something in there. And I'd like to think that I would have been that way anyway when time permitted, but that's when it came for me. So, Elliot, his death inspired me to make massive changes in my life. It didn't happen overnight. It took years. But once I lifted my head out of the clouds and could see that there's another world out there, that got me going.
And you started with, was Kokoda your first trip?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, so I trekked Kokoda. That was back in 2009, I suppose. Elliot would have been 21 at that stage, had he been alive. So we did that, he and a group of his friends. He's a group of his friends and my husband and I at the time, and Elliot's sister Emily did that, and that was massive. Yeah. That was massive. And again, I had no clue that I would go on to do anything else, but it's just like when you do one thing and you put yourself out of your comfort zone, and then you push yourself to the next thing and the next thing.
I love that.
And I think that's what it's been about. So even the business, as I said, I didn't have any formal education, but it was always pushing myself out of my comfort zone a little bit. And some of the things you have to do in business that if you're not experienced, it's uncomfortable, it's tough, it hurts, all those things that make that business up. And then I look and I think my life, my climbing outdoor life is parallel to that. They're very similar, pushing yourself outside your comfort zone, learning new skills, teamwork. You've got to have a great team around you to climb mountains and do those things that I do. You can't do that alone, which is like the business. So I just see it as a parallel. Yeah, no,
I think I was saying before, like I did Mount Kilimanjaro last year with Mark Hughes Foundation, and something that never thought I would do, and uncomfortable is probably an understatement.
Yeah.
But for you to go and do that again and again and again, it's hats off, and I guess that shows that resilience and also purpose. But you've now completed 6 of the 7 summits.
Yes.
I know you've tried pretty hard to complete that 7th.
The elusive 7.
Where the gods have not been there. But what sort of preparation and drive goes into that as well?
I think I enjoy the prep, and as much as I enjoy the actual events or the climbs. Physical, yes. Discipline, self-discipline. So you have a training plan. And look, it's never anything fancy. I have a little secret. I have a great personal trainer so when you say surround yourself with people, I sought Chris out maybe 5 years ago.
Chris Massey, I've used him myself.
Yeah. Chris is my secret.
It's funny, he's the smiling assassin.
So I didn't realise that. But so Chris Massey he has taken care of my physical fitness and my mental toughness as well, to a point. So he is a little assassin, and I often say I would find it difficult to do life without Chris. So he prepares me that way. It's the dedication and turning up, routine. So that's a lot of the prep. And I like getting the gear ready, and I like the planning side of it. Visualization, I use a lot of that. So, okay, when I get there, we're going to do this and we're going to do that, and then the weather will turn and it's nothing like that. But that's a lot of what it's like, And
that I guess that other side of that is your involvement with charities and that sort of stuff.
I've done a little bit, probably not as much as I would like to do, but maybe that'll come to in the future. I'm also aware of oversaturating people. Like there for a few years, we did a lot of work for MND, raising funds for the various charities. So I've taken a little bit of a break from that for the last couple of years, but who knows, that might come back again. It's bringing awareness to the disease, I think. And what's happened there for me was being like, okay, well, not just MND, but anybody that can't get up every day and get out there and enjoy that magnificent world that we have. Sometimes it's a sad and it's a crazy world, but if you can get up every day, well, we're able to do it. Get out there and enjoy it.
No, it's inspirational. Hats off. As I said, after doing one, I think it puts it even more perspective as to the challenges that you put yourself under and what you've achieved. So, and then, I guess, as I said, there's been a lot for your growth and there's a lot of parallels with business, but how has actually the business benefited and your people benefited from that involvement you've had in those tracks and that?
I think they've benefited because they've seen the transformation in me. So I have transformed. I've evolved as a person. I've continued to grow. And like I said, I wouldn't do anything that I wouldn't expect anything of them that I would expect of me, of myself. I think when they can see that you can okay, set yourself a goal or a plan outside of that. And it doesn't have to be the big mountains or anything like that. It could be go and do a trek down the Blue Mountains. It could go and do Sugarloaf. It doesn't have to be anything major. But I think it has been inspiring for some of them. I'm sure some of them also look at me and think I'm nuts. But that then there is another world outside of what we do there. Yeah, I think maybe in that way. Resilience, all those lessons.
Yeah, I think it's also what you said before, that anything's possible. Yeah.
With the people that have known me for all that time, and to see what you can do if you are dedicated and your mindset's right, and as you say, you've got to have right people around you. When I was training for some of the bigger things I've undertaken, if I was in a little bubble at times, you have to be, that total focus has to be there, and you can't let anything unsettle that. So you've got to have your tight little bubble of focus and the people around you that are going to support you and believe in you. So as I said, like I had Chris and a few other people around me that, okay, that's our mission, and they're on board and they help you to get to that. And I think there are a couple of people within our business that we've been able to do the same thing with a couple of things that they've done outside business. So if you can help or inspire one or two people, then
that's great. That's great. Well, like always with these videos, we seem to get some great people on here with great stories. We could talk for a long time, and I am going to try and summarise the wealth of information you've just said and the key points for if you're a business owner. I think one of the key things that resonated with me just then was, you got to have a punt, you got to have a go, and anything's possible. But surround yourself with right people, and make sure you advice or can-do attitudes, whatever it may be. You did say a lot about purpose and
have a reason. We all need a purpose.
And the values.
And values. Yeah.
I think that's probably foreign to a lot of people. I don't think they don't have them, but actually articulating them and getting people on the same page.
Live your values.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You mentioned quite a bit about that niching, and I think that's the base of your business, which has proven to where you are today what niche you can do, and that's sometimes saying no to those other opportunities and keep that focus.
Yeah.
What else we go through about what drives you and making sure that you're challenging yourself and delegating and letting other people come into the mix as well, so that let them, I think you said, flourish and thrive. So, too many of us sometimes just keep our hands on that tight that, and then when we do let people contribute, do we really let them contribute?
Yeah.
So that's wonderful. And I mean, the other one for me really was where you said, again, in business, could never predict how hard it was going to be. Unfortunately, not just in Australia, but we're pretty good at doing it, where such a large fail rate of businesses that have that dream and hopes, but they just don't, it's instead of, I guess, estimating how hard it's going to be and planning for that, they just picture the good side, and that's where some people start to fail.
Yeah.
And finally, having that endeavour and that purpose outside of the business, yours is trekking. As you said, it doesn't have to be these big mountainous climbs, but it's inspirational. But I think it's a good point of how you can prosper in your business.
Yeah. You need something outside. Took me a long time to figure that out, and when that happened, I think the business rose to another level as well, because you've got more energy, you've got something else to give to it as well, to fuel it.
The final message for me is really to the females out there that, as I said, I've got some great females in my life, and I'm fortunate enough in our role to work with a lot of wonderful females in business too, and you're definitely fit in that category, Leah, and congratulations for what you've done, but also hopefully people can get a bit inspired by that as well and say, well, if I want it, it's there. And don't let anyone else tell you that you can't do it. So
it's out there. It's all for the taking. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Appreciate it.
I won't give you a non-COVID handshake, but hopefully you guys have got a fair bit out of today again. And until the next time, thanks for joining us for Down to Business, and cheers.
Take care. Thank you.